Hey guys, so I wanted to talk a little bit about luck and randomness in the Pokemon TCG. Now, just to start off, I am not a pro player. It's just something that I've always thought about, especially since I made that competitive video the other day. If you want to check it out, I'll have a link in the description. But I had a rant basically talking about fixing my competitive mindset. And I was talking to my friend Mike, and we were both talking about how, like, sometimes it really stinks to have a really bad opening hand and just feel like the outcome of the match is not in your control. And he brought up a good point where he says, even though some of those things are out of your control, there are still so many things that you could do that are within your control, even if they're super minor things that can change the outcome of that match, or at least in review, teach you something that you could do differently. So let's be clear, I'm not talking about the hands where you draw and you have no outs, you have no nest balls, no ultra balls, no supporters. It's turn one and you have one Pokemon in the field, you can't do anything. Then your opponent goes and donks you on turn one. There's nothing you can do about that except adjust your list, I suppose. But if that's happening once in a blue moon, I mean, that's just bad luck. In TCG games, there's always an element of randomness. There's sometimes things you cannot control. You most of the time cannot control what you're drawing on top of your deck unless you're playing like Cyber Maniacs or something like that manipulates cards that are on the top or the bottom of your deck, right? But most of the time, it's totally random. You can't control what's in your prize cards. Those are things that we already know are out of your control. But what you can control is how you utilize the cards that are at your disposal. And sometimes it takes you reviewing your VOD to realize, hey, instead of Ultra Balling for this card, if I had Ultra Balled for this card, then I had a higher chance of drawing into, X card that I needed or whatever. I think the most important thing, though, to take away is knowing how to review the VOD and try to minimize it. Because I know there's a lot of times where I say to myself, hey, I lost this because it was out of my luck. Like, I lost this because I had a bad hand. And while that may be true, I still think there are ways that I could have optimized the play of that hand to give me better odds of winning. Even if it wasn't actually winning, it gave me better odds. And the more you do that, then the more likely that a situation that you thought was unwinnable will come about, and then you'll use that information and you'll actually turn it into a winnable situation. So that's something that I've always tried to work on, is trying to just not give up and realize, like, hey, let me look at it, let me analyze what I could have done better, and so forth. One thing that's super important that I think a lot of Pokemon players specifically, especially some of the newer players, downplay is reading your opponent's board state and their hand situation. So sometimes I'll be playing into a matchup and I'll expect them to play, for example, in Raging Bolt. I'll expect them to get Baby Bolt out because I'm playing Grimmsnarl, and their win con is to take out my Frostlass or my Monkey Dory early. So if we're playing and they're nest balling for everything but Raging Bolt, it tells me one of two things. One, they don't understand how the matchup works, or actually one of three things. They don't understand how it works, they didn't tech for it, or three, it's prized, or they don't have a way to get to it. But if I start seeing them like nest ball and they're taking out an Ogerpon and they're beefing up the Ogerpon, they're beefing up the Raging Bolt, the EX, okay, they probably don't have access to it. So I get to play a little bit differently knowing that. And sometimes, your opponent will surprise you and they'll play it and try to juke you. But in Pokemon, you don't really get rewarded for that as much as other games because you have to commit a lot of resources to the individual Pokemon. Getting 3 energy onto a Baby Bolt, you're committing Sadas to that. You're committing an energy switch or something like that, right? So you don't really want to waste it on other things if your plan is to get the Baby Bolt out. So that's something that I've been trying to do, especially in the games that I feel like are a little bit unwinnable, where I have a really bad hand. I really try to look at it and say, hey, I have a bad hand here. How can I make the most of this one nest ball that I have, looking at their board state and looking at what their hand size is and what I think they've been playing and stuff like that. It's actually helped me out a lot because I was doing some practice matches against my boyfriend, and he just kept bricking. He just kept bricking. And it got to a point where I said, if I Iono, I'm going to give him the cards that he needs. So I waited until the very, very last possible point. I said to myself, okay, I have this board state. He's got this board state. If I Iono, what are the chances that I'm going to advance my board state so far that an Iono's not going to help him enough to come back? And I waited until the very last minute to Iono. It actually turns out that I did help him more than I helped myself, but that is a learning experience. Trying to find that trade-off, trying to be as efficient as possible with the resources that you have is basically the name of the game with Pokemon TCG. So that's something that I've been thinking about, and I would like to hear how you guys like to approach, you know, dealing with luck and randomness. There's no point in getting mad at the game. There's no point in getting mad at the deck or your opponent. You just have to play better. And then there's going to be the games where you brick. There's going to be the games where your opponent got the perfect setup and you had one Pokemon on the bench or one Pokemon in the active. I've been there before. But even in those losses, there are small optimizations that you can learn and that you can make to get better, so that the next time you might have a higher % chance of getting out of that situation. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like and comment in the description. Let me know how you guys deal with RNG and luck and stuff like that, and we will talk in the next video.